I was reading the paper one day. So that started in 87, 91. I'm reading the paper one day. And I see a story about a guy lost his job. He's afraid of losing his house. His wife's working 2 shifts at a Dairy Mart convenience store, something like that. And he doesn't know what to do. And I looked at this story and I said, if I could spend 45 minutes with this guy, I could help him. Because my problem is I can see opportunity everywhere. And my assumption was that my brain had begun to evolve differently because of the situation that I was in, not because I'm particularly brilliant or, you know, I have any dispositional traits, right? And that was the sort of that's what set me on this journey. I became obsessed with understanding how underdogs win. And very quickly, you see, they're all entrepreneurs. They're all figuring out how to make themselves useful to other humans in some kind of way. But they're doing it in an off-trail kind of way, right? They're not relying on a teacher or a curriculum. Sorry, Thomas. You know, some structured method for themselves. And so, you know, I've now gone all over the world, interviewed hundreds and hundreds of these underdogs in Argentina, Brazil, Colombia, Mexico, North America, Europe, South Africa. The story is the same. I picked one story. It was the story of Uncle Cleve. And it really, at the time, I didn't really understand what I was trying to articulate. But when I met Clifton Talbert and he started to tell me about the influence of his Uncle Cleve, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. Because what I was trying to demonstrate is entrepreneurship isn't all about this Silicon Valley stuff where you need technology and venture capital and millions of dollars and all these degrees and all this shit. You just need to figure out how to make yourself useful to other humans. And I'm going to ask you guys right now, today, this morning, what's stopping you from making yourself more useful to more people? Because the more useful you become, the better off you're going to be. You understand that, right? And I don't mean just better off financially. You got to understand that. Meaning and prosperity, those two things go hand in hand, right? Because you can't have one without the other. You've got to do something that has meaning. If you're just out there trying to make a buck, I feel sorry for you, right? So you got to find a way to make yourself more useful to more humans. And ask yourself, and this is homework, right? Start to journal. What is stopping you from making yourself more useful to more people? And in the contemplation of that question, you will dig out deeply held beliefs that may not be serving you well. So, Thomas, I just want to start with that little riff, and you let her rip from there.
Yeah, it's a good riff. It's a good riff. And that was all my questions. So I'm not, no. So how about this one here? What was one thing readers don't realize about the Ice House story? After reading it and we talk about it, what is one thing they don't realize about it that you think it's important to reveal to them?
Why do you think Uncle Cleve always drove the speed limit?
Nice. I never thought that was going to be the answer.
It's because he was afraid of somebody killing him. He was afraid of standing up and out in that community, and he was not, you know, because he could become perceived as a threat in this context of where he was. Wow. Right? Wow. He's driving the speed limit because he's not giving anybody a chance to drag him out of his car and try to put him down for what he's doing. Right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
You said that one time there was I never would have thought that was an answer. It's just a great answer. And that's the insight that you get from your interviewing with, I didn't tell the students, but the Eli starts out, it's a organization. Well, it's an initiative and you got a grant and you started interviewing all these different entrepreneurs to find out what made them entrepreneurs. And that's how you stumbled onto, and it was actually a stumble onto Clifton, right?
Yeah, that was it. Like I got hired by the Cisco Entrepreneur Institute in 2008. I started interviewing all these entrepreneurs to kind of figure out, I wanted to understand like what's common and replicable in their beliefs.
Mhm.
What's resource independent? What's IQ independent? What is situation independent? Like what's common in their stories that any of you can grab a hold of and apply. I don't care where you are, where you start, what your interest is, your abilities, right? That's what I was looking for. And I could tell you, you know, those 8 life lessons in that book, those are life lessons distilled from hundreds of interviews. We told it in one
Mhm.
story. But those are the common factors, right?
Gotcha. I see. And then you were able to tease those out, or actually Clifton and you were able to put those together because is what Uncle Cleve did. Once you had those building blocks that seemed to be similar, then you went and said, oh my gosh, yes, of course, there where the choice was. And he told about the stories that was related to choice between both Clifton and Uncle Cleve.
Right. And you know, so this brings forth this idea, right? Like we all have wants and dreams and hopes, like what we're striving towards, right? And one of the things I'm asking you to do in this course is to get clear about that shit, right? That's choice. Are you letting the world bash you around, or you got clarity about what it is you're about and where you're going?
And we talk about, we talk about that, Gary, not in so much as it's not in what you're going to do, but who do you want to help? Why do you want to help them? And how can you take that first step?
Think about it like this. Here's how I want you to think about this. There's 3 spheres. Okay, you know what a Venn diagram is, right? Okay. The
Circles.
First sphere is your natural interest. And guess what? That comes on the hard drive. You don't get to pick your interest. It picked you. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
You have interests that are unique to you, that came on the hard drive, okay? That's figure out what would you be doing if you didn't need money? Where would your interests take you naturally? Okay, number 1. Number 2, what are you capable of becoming good at? You don't have to be good at it yet, but you have the capability of becoming good at it, right? So if you take the overlap of just those 2 spheres, you create something called authenticity, which already makes you a badass. Because no one can compete with you at being you, right? Because if you're out there trying to find a job and like there's 10,000, there's some other schmuck's going to outwork you. They're going to out-engineer you. They're going to outrun you. They're going to outthink you, whatever. So it's important that you play around in a sandbox that you were meant to be playing in. And then the 3rd sphere is the needs of other humans. So in that intersection between your interest, your ability, and the needs of other humans, you will become optimally engaged. Like that's where the magic happens. So let me put this to you a different way. You know, Bruce Lee once said, the successful warrior is nothing more than an ordinary man with a laser focus. The successful entrepreneur is nothing more than an ordinary person with a compelling goal. Right?
With a compelling goal, yeah.
My question is like, do you have a compelling goal? That's the choice exercise in the Ice House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When I say compelling, I don't mean like get a good job and buy a house. That ain't compelling. Those are extra. I mean, you need safety and security and belonging and all that, right? But I mean something that excites you, that energizes you, that you can't stop thinking about, that you're willing to work on Friday night and Sunday morning and whatnot, right? You're willing to ditch your friends to go after this. And my second question to you is, if you don't have a compelling goal, why not? What happens to a human being in the absence of a compelling goal? You become bored. You become distracted. You start spending rather than investing your intellectual capabilities. You're on Facebook. You're engaging in all kinds of stuff that ain't going to take you where you want to go. That's why the first lesson in Ice House is the money shot. If you can start, and you don't have to figure out your whole life's purpose. Don't misunderstand me here.
Right. I think that's key.
Cleaning gutters ain't my life's purpose.
Right. I wanted to point that out.
I'm
right.
a handy guy. I can fix stuff. Like Thomas already alluded to. Like I'm a handy guy, right? So it's something I'm capable of doing. I kind of like doing it. You know, it wasn't my be-all, end-all thing, but it helped me develop the belief and the confidence and the self-efficacy beliefs.
Yep.
To now develop an organization. It's like a world leader in entrepreneurial mindset education. I've traveled all over the world. I've met with world leaders. I mean, all this crazy shit. I don't even have a college degree. I barely got through high school. Right? I'm a recovering alcoholic. So, what's your next question, Thomas?
You want to roll there on that? I want to say so. Good stuff. I put up this. I don't know. Do you know the guys that we see all the time at the conferences called teachingentrpreneurship.org?
Yeah.
Doan and
Doan Winkle. Yeah.
Those guys are great. They've been really good to me. And so one of the exercises that I use from theirs is exactly an exercise that helps students go through this. So we add that for students as well as myself to pilot your purpose. And it's exactly the same thing what you're talking about. I'm frozen. Yep. Hold on. I got this fancy, don't end the meeting for all. Hold on. I got this fancy system. Here we go. I'm back. All right, cool.
Okay. Good.
So we went through this this exercise, and I thought it was a great exercise that did exactly what it was more of a step-by-step. So it helped out with I don't know where I'm going. I got a blank sheet of paper in front of me, but it walked through what's important to you, what skills do you have, what are you interested in getting better at, what do people think you're better at, what do you want to impact in that, and at the end they come up with 2 types of customers that they want to appeal to, and now we're going to go interview those customers and see what types of services or products we can offer them to provide value. So it's that exact same thing. Just figure that out. So it worked out real well.
Let me try to lay something out here. You know, I know you guys are in a business course.
Ish.
And I'm about to like mess up your stuff over here.
Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, because like I'm trying to like in my interactions, like I'm trying to like ditch the business terminology.
Yeah, I'm with you.
We're all humans with interests and abilities trying to serve other humans. I'm trying to ditch the customer and the value proposition and the channels and all that shit. Yep. And I'm just trying to break it down to its first principles, right?
Providing value.
Ice House is what? It's like solving problems for other people is where the opportunity lies, right? Once you get that simple idea, lesson number 2, right? It's about solving problems for other people. The door of the cage flies open and a little bird flies out of the cage, right? Like once you wrap your head around that one simple fact, you're on this planet to figure out what your interests and abilities are that came on your hard drive so you can make the world a better place. You think this thinking is unique to me? It's not. Seneca wrote this in an essay in 64 AD. He said it's the duty of a man or a woman to make him or herself as useful as possible to as many as possible, so that we advance the welfare of mankind. But school doesn't teach you that, right? School's teaching you to go work for an employer. See, here's the thing. You got to understand some basics about human motivation, right? This is what Carl Rogers called the master motivator. You're like an acorn, like every living thing has this innate tendency to become all that it can become. Walk outside of your apartment and look at, you'll see in a crack in the asphalt, a little plant trying to grow up in the asphalt. That's it right there. That's the innate organismic tendency to self-actualize. It's in every one of you. But that tendency towards self-actualization requires a certain environment, right? Most of us are acorns. We're stuck in a little flower pot somewhere. We're never going to get to be a mighty oak tree. Not because we don't have a desire or capacity. It's because the environment won't support it, right? Someone else is telling you how to make yourself useful, right? You learn how to make yourself useful within very organized, systematic, known systems where the path is clear and the rules are well defined. That's great. But an entrepreneur, you got to step out of known systems and you got to go out into the wilderness with a sharp stick and some duct tape and figure out how to make yourself useful. You got to learn how to learn on your own. You got to learn how to unlearn. Because all the, half the barriers are the stuff you got in your head that you think are true and they're not true. Both your ideas about the world plus your ideas about yourself, right? So
Yep.
The second lesson here is the idea that solving problems for other humans is the way, okay? So here's what I'm going to tell you. What I didn't have the language to articulate a decade ago. The world is full of opportunity. There's an infinite array of opportunity out in the world right now, right outside your door, right in your life. And those opportunities don't require anything you don't already have in order to pursue those opportunities, right? So what are those opportunities? There's 7 billion people on the planet. I think you can have access to maybe 3 or 4 billion of them in your pocket right here, called a cell phone, right? They all have needs, but they're unarticulated needs. They're needs they don't even know they have, right? This is the definition of latent. They're latent needs. They're present, but they're not visible. They're not like floating around like little red balloons go, oh, there's an opportunity, there's an opportunity. Like people aren't out there walking around with signs like, hey, somebody make me a $5 latte, right? So these needs exist everywhere, but they're invisible. And the only way you're going to find them is if you go looking for them. But you need detective skills, you understand? You don't need business skills, you need detective skills.
Yep.
You need to learn how to solve mysteries. You need how to talk to people. You need to learn how to conduct micro experiments. That's lesson 3, right? Action. You micro experiment. You have a conversation. You test an idea. My micro experiment was strap a ladder. I didn't have the money for a ladder. I borrowed it from a friend. If I didn't get a customer on day 1, I'm done. Right? And like in 1987, $100 was maybe like $200-$300 today. I mean, it was like, in 4 hours time, I made, it was okay compared to like, working for $5-6 an hour for somebody telling me what to do. Right? So that was my micro experiment. That's lesson 3, action. And then lesson 4 is about learning, like always be learning, like constantly learning from the experiment, learning from others. Like you got to become a learning machine. So why do people stop learning? Right? They stop learning because they start thinking the world is the way it is. They stop learning because somebody else is telling me how to be useful, so I don't have to think for myself. I just got to show up and go do this job every day. The teacher's going to tell me what to learn, so I don't have to think about what to learn. The teacher's going to tell me what I got to do to get the A. I'm just going to do what the teacher told me to do. We stop thinking for ourselves, right? So this is a mindset piece I'm going to lay out for you here, right? It's called an internal or an external locus of control, right? If you have an external locus of control where you think fate or luck or circumstances or powerful others are ruling your life, there's no reason to learn. Go home, get on social media, get yourself a six-pack and chill out, right? There's no reason to learn. You see all those books in the background? I read every day. I read on the treadmill. I read at night. I read when I wake up. I got Audible subscription. I'm a learning machine, right? So that's really the gist of Ice House. Figure out what it is you want to do with your time. You know, Mary Oliver said this, like, tell me what is it you're going to do with your one wild and precious life. That's lesson one. Figure that shit out. Get some clarity about where you're going so you're not distractible. Figure out solving problems for other people is the way. Start doing that in any little kind of way you can do right now. Start solving little. Here's the thing, right? You know, human beings are no different than any other mammal in that we're born with the innate capacity and the desire to learn everything we need to learn in order to adapt and thrive in our environment. That shit came on the hard drive. And guess what? We don't need to be coerced and manipulated into learning. We get rewarded from, when we're following our own interests, nature rewards us with something called joy. It's intrinsically valuable, right? You don't have to be coerced. Now, so think about this. When you're pursuing your own interest, you can't say the same thing about work. We're not intrinsically motivated to work. And from an evolutionary perspective, we try to avoid work. Our bodies are always trying to find ways to reduce the load. We're always trying to conserve energy, reduce the cognitive load, you know, minimize the physical amount of energy to get something done. That's in nature everywhere, right? Looks like laziness, but it's not. So we're not intrinsically motivated. We're intrinsically motivated to learn, but we're not intrinsically motivated to work.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the catch. We are intrinsically motivated to contribute to the greater good. And so when you can pursue your own interests and your abilities in ways that contribute to the greater good, work no longer becomes work.
Yeah.
It becomes a source of meaning and growth and joy and psychological well-being. Not something to be avoided or something you have to tolerate so you can make a house payment or buy a car or whatever, right? You don't need to be coerced and manipulated to do that either. So that's what happens to the entrepreneur. They stumble into this trifecta. They're pursuing their own interests and developing their own abilities in ways that contribute to the greater good, right? So in this way, what I'm saying is that the entrepreneurial spirit is the human spirit. It ain't just in some of us, it's in every damn one of us, right? But the way we've been socialized into our society tells us that we're going to work for somebody else who's going to tell us how to make ourselves useful. And they're going to limit the amount of usefulness we can be, right? You're going to show up at 9 o'clock and you're going to leave at 6 or whatever it is, right? You're going to do this task and you're going to make so much money per hour, right? You're constrained. So if you think about the 8 life lessons, right? Start out with choice. That's the foundation. Look for problems to solve. Start trying lots of all action, like micro experiment. It's the micro experimenting that enables you to tease out opportunities that are present but not visible. That's why business planning is a waste of time.
Waste of
Because
time.
the data doesn't exist, right?
Waste of time.
Anybody tells you write a business plan, like walk away.
Well, we do a 1-pager.
Okay. I mean, the canvas is kind of like a low
Yeah, we talk about this
fidelity.
53. As soon as you finish that thing, it's all different.
It's all, once the shooting starts, the plan goes out the window, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Punch in the nose. But that was the whole
Exactly.
thing, your micro experiment. I put a ladder on a roof. I had to use duct tape. I had to use, you did the clothesline and you open the windows because you didn't have a rack, right?
That's it. And so what happens is then you look at the second 4 lessons. You'll start to learn to create wealth. You'll learn how to become resourceful. You'll learn how to invest your time, your money, your intellect, whatever, right? You'll learn how to build a brand, because you know what branding is? You start manufacturing luck, right? You develop a reputation for being reliable, and next thing you know, people start bringing opportunities to you, right? I'm a luck generating machine because I have a reputation for being reliable. All right. Then you start to surround yourself with people. You create like an intentional community of practice. You surround yourself with other entrepreneurs who are smarter than you, who are richer than you, who are going to intimidate the shit out of you, but they're going to teach you, right? It's going to create an environment that's going to force you to grow, right? And then at the end of the day, you're going to learn how to persist. You're going to develop the resilience that'll enable you to stay in there long enough to make it happen, right? You know where that resilience comes from? It comes from what psychologists call an optimistic explanatory style. It's a big fancy word. It's really a simple way of saying, what's the story you tell yourself when shit's going wrong? Oh my God, this always happens to me. That's a pessimistic explanatory style, right? You listen to the entrepreneurs in the Ice House program, what are they saying? They're saying stuff like, I got to find me a way. I got to learn some things from this guy, right? Here's where persistence comes from. You got circuitry in your brain. I'm going to simplify. I'll spare you the neurological perspective. There's something in your brain called the hope circuit, right? So what happens is when you find yourself in a challenging circumstance, without your conscious awareness, your brain reaches into your memory and decides whether this is an escapable situation or whether it's inescapable. And your mind makes that choice without any consultation with you. It happens automatically, right? If your brain decides the situation is inescapable, you know what happens to you? It suppresses fight or flight. Conserve energy and now figure out how to tolerate it rather than how to escape it. So what does that look like for the average Joe walking around who doesn't like their job, right? They're figuring out how to buy a jet ski or how to go to a concert or how to they're looking forward to vacations and weekends. They're focusing all their time and energy on tolerating the circumstances as they are. As opposed to someone, the hope circuit opens, and you know what it does? When the hope circuit opens, it creates the same physiological response that a threat does. It energizes you, right? How many of you can feel yourself right now energized by this conversation, right? Okay, that energy is not coming from me. It's coming from you. There's something in what I'm saying that's resonating in your psyche that you're not even aware of, that part of you that's trying to self-actualize is saying yes, right? It's saying go. It's energizing you towards these ideas. That energy is what Marx called your species essence, right? The successful entrepreneur is nothing more than an ordinary human being trying to self-actualize, right? And it was Maslow who said something to the effect of, unless you plan on doing what you are fitted for, you can expect to be miserable all the days of your life. And so one of the things I want you guys to take away from Ice House is to be true to who you are. Like don't take the job because it pays more, or because your parents want to, or you think it's safe. If there's the whole overarching lesson to Ice House, which would be lesson 9, you guys are the first ones hearing this. This is right straight out of the oven. It's to be true to yourself, right? You know who you are. You know you've got something in you that's unique, that in your job is to figure out what it is. And Mr. Pacchiaretti is the guy that's going to help you figure it out. But no one can make the bridge across life that you got to cross. I think that was a Nietzsche thing. It's not my own. But you know, you're in school, you got people that are trying to help you figure it out, but you got to accept responsibility to figure out that intersection between your interests, your abilities, and needs of other human beings.
Yeah, we're here for support and those kind of things. And I'm sure Gary, you can email him. He's online there in a lot of different places. But I really like that approach, Gary, is that oftentimes students say, what other book do you want me to read? What other book can I read? Doesn't happen in a book. It happens out there. You got to go out there and do those micro experiments. And I'm here to support you, because it may not be easy. It may not work the way you expected it, but that's what I call learning, is when you get a result that you didn't expect. Now you're learning in that aspect of it. So,
an Audible subscription is $15 a month.
Yeah, exactly.
I consume, probably 2 or 3 books a month. Right? So what's that add up to in a year? Like 25, 30 books in a year. I'm listening to an audiobook when I'm driving to the grocery store for 10 minutes. I'm getting 10 minutes of a podcast or something.
Yeah.
Right?
Have you ever been, Gary, where you were outside your house and you had to get through the next chapter? Like, so you stayed in your car and you listened to it?
Totally. All the time.
I can't go. I'm in my car here. So people are looking.
I want an extra mile.
I'm listening. I got to go.
It's it.
It's
right?
Cool. And it works out so well. And that's why, Gary, we record these. And then oftentimes before, when students were commuting, because we're a commuter college, I would rip the audio and provide the class so that students could read it, listen to it on the way in, to refresh it, or actually to go to the class for the first time, and be able to, when you came to class, to be a little more, what do they say, smarter. My Europeans friend, I got to get smart about this. Yeah. But Gary, I think we've got some questions from great job though, Gary, great job. And I like the number 9 right out of the oven. I hadn't heard that one before.
Yeah.
And I did Seneca, and I go, oh my gosh. Oh, that's a prolific person. Yeah. I just looked at all the different quotes from Seneca. I pulled them up, so I read them from time to time. Very cool. But what questions, students, do you have for Gary? This is the one. Let me start out with the first one here, which just says, I've got up here, it says, how did you get the grant? So you're out doing this, you got $5 million business, and then you're still interested in this, and then this Cisco grant came along. How did that happen?
It wasn't a grant, it was a contract.
Oh.
So So I was evolving like I was obsessed with these ideas, but my gutter cleaning business had evolved from gutter cleaning to like handyman to like renovation to like the home building and real estate development, right? It kind of evolved. Like, but I couldn't like let go of this entrepreneur thing I had in my mind, right? And I had like read a bunch of biographies, interviewed like entrepreneurs in my own community. Like I was trying to figure it out. I didn't have, you know, a real framework for doing it. But I was doing some research, and I'll keep the story really short. I found a white paper this lady wrote that ran an entrepreneurship education consortium, national consortium. And I had an idea, like, you know, the way we teach entrepreneurship in schools is divorced from the reality of what an entrepreneur actually does.
Right, for the most part.
And I thought, like, okay, I need to create a tool that would help an average teacher like get it. And I need to put video case studies in the curriculum so you can learn from the real entrepreneur, not just the theoretical bullshit. You can learn right from the real entrepreneur. And I wrote a note to this email to this lady, and I said, here's my idea. Is anyone doing this? See, I was micro experimenting. I had an idea. I'm not going out looking for money. I'm trying to prove or disprove the concept. And I went right to the source. Okay, this lady runs a national entrepreneurship education consortium. I said, is someone doing this? And she said, no, not that I know of. That's really interesting. Would you come and present that at our annual conference? I'm a home builder with a high school diploma. I'm like, sure. I drive 5 states away, right? I stand up in front of 400 people scared out of my wits, my teeth sticking to my lips because I'm intimidated out of my mind.
Dry mouth.
Dry mouth, right? You ever been scared like that?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm out of my league, but the goal is compelling, you see? And if the goal is compelling, you can subordinate that fear to a higher impulse. But if you don't have the goal, the fear is going to get you.
Yep.
It's not about being courageous. It's about having the compelling goal. The whole secret to this is the compelling goal. All right, anyway. So I went to this conference. I had a little 10-minute dog and pony show. I didn't even know how to use PowerPoint. I had somebody help me make a slide deck with some like text and then some pictures and some videos. I just made it up. Micro experiment. Went to this conference, did my little dog and pony show, and a guy came up to me, introduced me, said, I'm from the Cisco Entrepreneur Institute in San Jose. I like your idea. Would you come out and present this to our team? I was like, yeah, sure, cool. You know, 2 weeks later. That's
going to be easy. You already did one.
2 weeks later, I was in the headquarters of Cisco in San Jose, presenting this to a team that reported right to John Chambers. 2 weeks later, I walked away with a $250,000 contract to consult for them and develop content. And that all happened in 2007, 2008 when the housing market was crashing. So I was like Mr. Magoo. I just kind of walked out of my building business. The rich ball went right past my head. You guys probably don't get that reference, but
I do.
Yeah, okay. But anyway, that's how it happened. It wasn't a grant. I was out there hustling.
Gotcha.
I made it happen. I want to make that clear. And then, so Cisco gave me the credibility that got us into Kauffman, and then, you know.
And then how it goes from there. Gary, can you see the chat, right? Some students have some questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see. We got Angel the first. Well, yeah, that was the first question. We have Angel going, being true to yourself. How much of your journey is finding yourself versus creating myself? Ooh,
yeah, it's a good question, Angel.
That's a good question.
What I would say is like, you got to try lots of shit. That's the thing. It's just a numbers game. You got to try stuff. And if you just go right into the rut and going into school and following a career path, you're not going to have a chance to try stuff. You got to try lots of things, right? I was 47 when I launched Eli. And I swear to God, you know, I got that Cisco contract. I had a partner, he was an architect trained in Switzerland. We were building like $5 million houses. And I got that Cisco contract and I looked at myself in the mirror for real. And I said, if you don't go for this now, you're going to die. Like with this unrealized dream that's in your heart. Unrealized, right? And a lot of the great psychologists have said this, ideas are like memes floating around the world. They're looking for people to attach themselves to. The idea finds you, but you got to put yourself out there. You got to try lots of shit.
Yep.
Right. But the other side of this, Angel, is like creating yourself. I'm going to default back to authenticity. There's a divining rod in your chest that you got to follow it. You got to pay attention to it. And it's not always easy because the need to conform is a very powerful evolutionary need. Okay.
We come back to nice. We come back to Cole. Obviously, Gary, you do a lot of things. You got your exercising. You're doing, this and that. So Cole asks. This is like a talk show, right? Well, Cole asks, how do you prefer to manage your time?
So it's a good question, Cole. I'll tell you what I do. I'm writing a new book right now, and I dedicate like the early part of the day when my creative mind is good to writing. Mm-hmm. But I start my day with like a meditation practice. I start my day with a meditation practice and like 45 minutes to an hour of vigorous work. I swim 1.5 miles. I'll run 6 miles, one of those two, then write for 2 or 3 hours. Mm-hmm. Then I kind of get to other like priorities. So I kind of have a priority thing, but I got to get myself right first.
Yeah.
I do these things so that like I have the day, it doesn't have me.
Right. And I think over time, and again, it's one of those things that Angel brings up with those things is you got to be comfortable that you don't know. You don't know what you don't know until you try it. So you don't know. So I know that I'm an early morning guy. Right. And so that's what I would prefer to write or get stuff done. And then as the day goes on, I'm just doing pickup work, do admin stuff. I answer these things, but I'm sharp and I'm creative and I'm excited when I'm earlier. As it gets into the evening, I got to, get 2 more cups of coffee into me to get me going for my night classes and those things. So it's other people are the other way around. So you just
we're
experiment.
Not meant to work 10 hours a day. That's like, you look at 100 gatherers, we're meant to work like 3-4 hours a day.
Yeah. It focused on the aspect of it. And you start looking at focus.
Thomas, you said something I want to address that's important, right? People think like I want to have this other life out there, but I don't have the money, I don't have the time. Right. And that's like, it's all bullshit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, we get stuck in our own head. And one of the ways we get stuck is something I would call, like, you should like think about this and write it down, but it's like the ability to tolerate ambiguity. Mm-hmm. That's what stops people. We're loath to walk down a path without certainty of the outcome. We're loath to walk down a path where there's not a bunch of other people on the path. And so we just back up out of the path and we go with what everyone else is doing. I have 2 sons that are 28 and 30, Sam and Owen. And I'm constantly telling them, either you learn how to tolerate ambiguity or you're going to be at the mercy of someone who has. Right?
Yeah, we call it becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. And once you've done it once, it's easier, becomes easier and easier. The key thing that we talk about in class is this concept of we're trying to experiment as entrepreneurs. And how is it okay that a scientist can go through these tests and experiments and come up with, it didn't work. And we're okay with that. But when we go to the Thanksgiving dinner and we try to start a leaf blowing business or something like that, and it didn't work out the way we want, that we're embarrassed.
Right.
That's not right. We're experimenting. We don't know what we don't know. So you got to go out there and you'll get the comfort and you'll get the confidence that whatever comes your way, you'll figure it out. And what Angel said is, how do you figure out between fight or flight? Well, I know that when I did this last time, I got punched in the nose and it really hurt.
Right.
That's a time for me to flight. There was another time when I sat back and I looked at it and said, no, I'm going to fight. And the other thing, the bully ran away. I think it's from experience and you just got to try it. If you don't, you punched in the nose. It's all right. Just a little blood. It's okay.
Angel, you're asking a hard question, right? Because it's like, I listen to Tim Ferriss podcast. I highly recommend. He's got a lot of
Tim
high
Ferriss?
performing, interesting people. I'm listening to his book right now called Tools for Titans. It's really, really good.
Let me. I'm gonna pull that up and then I'll put it in the chat. But go ahead. Go ahead.
But you know, if it's not like a hell yes, then it's a no. Right? But you got to understand something. Like in the beginning, when you're just starting out, you say yes to everything and you try lots of things. And then once you figure out something that works, then you start saying no to shit and focus on what's working, right? So there's a contextual element to your question. In my opinion, let me hold it. Anthony, in my opinion, creating yourself means getting out there and trying a lot of things instead of being hesitant. Yeah, you got to be willing to look stupid, man. I'm sorry. Yep. Like that's really kind of what it is. But if you're micro experimenting, I'm going to tell you a little bit piece of logic here that's going to help you guys. Like micro experimenting allows you to survive longer in the unknown.
Yeah.
Right? So most of you have been taught all of your life, look before you leap. That's called causal reasoning. That's what a business school teaches you. Write a business plan, figure it all out before you take the first step. And that's really good logic in situations where the cost of failure is high and the opportunity you're pursuing is visible. It's quantifiable.
Let me give an example on that. We talk about my dear friend who's also a professor here. She launched $90 million product, doggy dental chews. She says, look, Tom, this is a big deal. I got manufacturing. I got this. I got that. And I got to plan this out. But that's not entrepreneurial in my mind. Right, that's more innovation within a corporate environment.
Well, what I'm seeing, that's exactly right. A simple example is like before you run across the freeway, you should look before you start running across the freeway because the cost of failure is very high. Right? But here's what no one ever taught you. The exact opposite logic. You have to go in order to know. That's called effectual reasoning. Right? And so that's how an organism survives in highly ambiguous resource constrained environment. You micro experiment. So let's imagine that you and I are often that we got stranded in the jungle somewhere in Brazil. We don't know where the hell we are. We're hungry. We don't know what to eat, right? And we're starved. We come across a big bush full of big, bright, beautiful red berries. You're going to start gorging on those berries?
Don't eat the berries, man.
You're going to take one berry off that bush and you're going to rub it on your lips and see if you vomit or your face swells up.
Or give it to your partner.
Or you see what I'm saying? You micro experiment. It's all in nature. This is how you function normally outside of known systems.
Right. Yep.
No one ever taught you to think that way because it's never expected. You're going to have to function outside of known systems. You're just going to go to school. The path is clear. Here's all the wickets you got to hit. You get the degree, you got the job, boom, it's all laid out for you. You haven't been given the attitudes and skills to go outside of that and figure out how to make yourself useful on your own.
Cool, Gary. We got a multi-part question from Josh here, so I think it'll be able to wrap it up because he's got enough questions here to be a nice little summary of this. Can you see it?
Yeah. Do you ever have moments when you lose touch with the mindset? How do you stay? Man, that's right there. Let me just stop right there, Josh. That's a big question. You're asking an important question because you got to have the big, my big goal is I'm building this global organization. I'm going to empower millions of people around the world to think this way because I've seen the way it changes human lives, right? I'm intrinsically motivated to do this. And by the way, when I started on this journey, I was afraid to speak publicly. So I went to a men's shelter and spoke to like homeless dudes every Tuesday for months to get over that fear. Just saying, right? But it's important to have, and that's what the mindset exercise is in Ice House. You have a big distant goal, but then you got to have short goals. You got to have a little milestone you're trying to hit, right? And sometimes you got to stop and remember what it is that the bigger goal, what your purpose is, right? How do you balance your current responsibilities and workload with goals you wish to pursue? Again, it's a tough question, but like, you got to make that shit happen in the margins. You are wasting so much of your life because you don't have a compelling goal, right? You find a way to make it happen in the margins. If you got 15 minutes, right? An example I gave you earlier, I'm driving to the grocery store. I'm getting 10 minutes of a podcast or an audiobook. I'm getting 10 minutes of learning. I make it happen in the margin. You know, don't tell yourself that bullshit story that like, oh, I got to quit my job. No, don't quit your job. Don't drop out of school.
Yes. Yes, that answers. That's where we're going in with Alexis, rather, asking that same question is, and that's why we talk about this as a side hustle. Remember when we watched in Generation Startup where Labib had to go out, but he was working with his brother at night and on the weekend. That's what entrepreneurs do. Totally understand that aspect of when I was going to get an MBA because I was in General Electric at the time. This is in the 80s, and that's how you progressed. I couldn't go full time. I didn't have the money. So I went at night. And so I'm at night when other people are partying or other people are sleeping and watching TV, I'm going at night. And the same thing Gary did and the same thing you all can do. We're not asking you to make that big bet. It's that's the exactly micro right. bets.
That's it. And Alexis, to answer your question, like sometimes you have to stay in a situation you're in. I get it. Yep. I get it. It's a really important question or point that you're bringing up. But like no one owns your mind. Right? And so every little margin of a minute you have in your life as it currently is, you're figuring out how to make yourself smarter and stronger. You're paying attention. See, here's the thing. Once you realize it's all about solving problems for other people, here's what happens to you cognitively. Your focus goes from narrow to broad, right? You stop thinking about getting your own needs met. And this is where this is like paradoxical. You start to focus on the bigger picture. What's missing here? What can be improved? What doesn't make any sense? What's frustrating? What do other people need? And when you're beat down and you're trying to do everything you can to keep your own head on top of things, above water, the last thing you're going to think about is getting other people's needs met. But that's the secret from Uncle Cleve, right? The secret is hanging right in front of your eyes and you can't see it. It's about figuring out what other people need and start paying attention to that. You got to, this is what I never finished saying earlier. You know, you got access to 3 or 4 billion people in the world, and they all have unarticulated needs. If you go looking for those needs and you develop the skills, that's the 8 life lessons, to tease out those needs, you're on your way. And I can promise you, you know, I don't know what situation you're in at this moment, but I can promise you there are many, many people that have come from worse circumstances that have figured it out. And that's what the Ice House program is all about, right? Uncle Cleve is one example.
I'm just trying to figure out, because I'm a mother of 5, and it's like necessity over the things that I want and the things that I need for myself. I have wanted to be an entrepreneur. I turned 44 yesterday. I have wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Happy birthday.
Since I was 23.
Age. I love being
and so it's a situation where it's like necessity over what my kids need and what I want for myself. And it's very hard for me to try to figure out how to navigate through all of that, because I am a single mom and I do have 5 kids that I'm trying to take care of on my own.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
you know, I just want to be able to get the mindset through all of that because it's a lot, even right now through COVID, having kids online doing school, then I'm trying to do my thing online, and it's just very difficult.
Yeah, yeah. I don't doubt that at all, Shavonda. And I appreciate what you're saying. What I'm trying to do is like keep that hope circuit open,
Yes.
right? Reach out. Are you guys using the Ice House course materials? Have you met some of the Ice House entrepreneurs?
No.
Have you met Serena Thomas yet? Serena Moore, Ted and Serena Moore.
No.
Serena was pregnant. She had twins in high school. She started a business with $200 with her dad, a cleaning business, like as a side hustle, right? They went to over $1 million in revenue. So try to, I mean, you know, start looking for the smallest little opportunities and the smallest margins. You got to keep that hope circuit open. You got to surround yourself with people that have come from similar or worse circumstances that are doing it. And that's lesson 7 in Ice House.
Okay.
Create Shavonda, create an intentional support community
Okay.
and reach out
I
to
think
people.
that's where my problem is, because I don't have support, and I just will just spill all the beans. I'm just getting out of a really abusive relationship of 20 years. So I'm stepping out of all of that and all of the drama and all of the shit that I had to endure all this time trying to make it.
You are a strong, amazing human being.
Thank
you have no idea how strong you are.
And I've been keeping that hope even through all of the abuse and everything, like, you know, to keep going. And even though you haven't made it yet, it's gonna happen. Just keep pressing, just keep believing, keep hoping, you know, but I need to get a group of people to really help me to be able to get there.
Here's what I just did. I just did this like about 2 months ago. I read Ben Franklin's autobiography. It's a little tiny book. It's about 125 pages or something, right? And he said he created this support group for himself when he was like 25 years old. Lasted until he was like 65.
Wow.
So you know what I did? I created a group on Zoom. I found like people that were younger than me. I'm in the business of telling people what to do. I want to put myself in situations people are telling me what to do. People that are younger than me. I created a group of people that are younger than me, that are smarter than me, that are more accomplished than me. And I created a little group of like amazing entrepreneurs, special forces guy, professional athletes, where I'm the dumbest guy in the room. I purposefully created a situation to put myself in. Every Thursday night, I'm on a Zoom call with these guys. I'm the dumbest guy in the room. For that reason. And that's the beautiful thing about COVID. Like you could do that.
Right.
And, you know, Shavonda, I just am so grateful for you sharing, because that's what this is all about for me. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like in tears right now because I've been fighting for such a long time, and people don't understand, like, domestic violence is real, and it keeps you down.
Yeah.
And I want this entrepreneur thing more than anything. Just for myself.
Yeah.
Shavonda, what I want to come back to is the first lesson here about the goal.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you got some kind of a compelling goal in front of you, in front of us, we get to escape who we have been and we get to become who we can become. The compelling goal pulls us into a new life. Shavonda, I was a drug addicted loser. I've been sober for 35 years. Monday the 21st of September, I celebrate 35 years of sobriety. But I've been down. You understand?
Yeah.
And I'm saying when you got that hope in front of you, when you got some kind of the goal pulls you into the future. It allows you, because without that compelling goal, we just get caught being up who we've always been. We get caught in the same thoughts, the same actions, the same people. And it's just, we get caught in this nasty, you know, in our orbit.
Right.
And it's the goal. Doesn't matter how small it is.
Okay.
You know, I interviewed a girl in Pittsburgh, Kansas a couple of months ago. Her name is Melissa Weed. She started a cleaning business. She put an ad on Facebook.
Mom.
And she started getting cleaning gigs. She's charging like 30, 40 bucks an hour in her spare time, right? She said, I could have started this with $5. It begins with the mindset, but
Yeah.
you know, and I'm going to wrap it up here, and I want to leave you guys with this, and I'm just inspired by Shivanda's comments and your heart more than anything. What I want to leave you guys with is this. I've been all over this world, and I've interviewed underdog stories, and people that are missing limbs, people that have been locked up, all their life, people, amazing stories of ordinary people that have overcome these challenges. And I can tell you, it's hard. And I don't care where it is you're starting from. And I know the world is not a fair place. It's not a level playing field. I understand all that. But the one thing I want to tell you guys, what I've learned from these underdog entrepreneurs, I can tell you with 100% confidence, is that you are way more powerful than you can possibly imagine. That's the message from Uncle Cleve. That's the message I want to leave you with today. Thomas, you can put my contact information up there. I'm happy to help you guys.
Sure.
Happy to connect with other folks.
Sure.
Love all you guys for what you're doing. Stick with it. You got an amazing teacher.
You're very kind. Gary, thank you so much. I didn't know how this was going to go. This went better than I would have imagined. And that's one of those things. Put it out there and see what happens. And you just did an amazing job. And this is, it has so much more coming from you, having interviewed all those people. I can say the same things, but it's not the same. And I really appreciate you taking your time. I know you got 6 more miles to run today. And I always think of something to give Gary that's to say thank you for, but he doesn't drink, he doesn't eat sweets. I mean, God, I got to figure something out. Maybe a little plush toy or something like that. I'll send you, Gary, because I really appreciate your time and effort on that.
The pleasure is all mine. Nothing necessary. I get nothing but pure joy out of interacting with you guys and hearing your stories.
Gary, I'll also send you one of the videos I show in all of my classes. It's Matthew McConaughey, and it echoed exactly what you were saying about Matthew McConaughey saying, "Do what you are fashioned to do." So you said it in a different way, but it was interesting. He says it was about joy, not about success. Yeah. And so everything you've done here, I feel pretty good that. I was thinking in my mind, do I want to put you at this is the perfect spot to have you in terms of speaking directly to students. And that's why I love teaching at a community college. The
Great.
diversity in terms. All right. You're the best.
See you guys.
All right. Thanks, Gary.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right. You're out.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. We got 6 minutes. Whoa.
That was pretty awesome.
That was pretty awesome. Although I got to talk to him about the money shot, man. I think you need to come up with something better than that's the money shot. Gary, that's pornography. I know what you mean. So I had a whole bunch of other things planned to do. Blow it away. I'm not going to stop Gary. He's on a roll. He's gone on a roll a little bit. So he's a really good man. I like the idea of community. I like some people were in here in the talking about creating a community. And that's been one of my things I want community college entrepreneurs to be able to get together, both for support and a bit for ideas and that, to know that they are out there and that people can inspire each other. And you all had some great questions. So I've got a nonprofit scheduled for the 14th. So she is a consultant in nonprofits, been involved with nonprofits. I've known her for a little bit, comes highly recommended. And so she'll talk about that on the 14th. But we're going to do a little catch up on Monday. We'll go a little quickly, but it'll be okay. Also, I'm recording this, so I'm putting it up, and I'm also offering it to Gary if he wants to put it up on his website, etc. I'll send you all of his information about Eli on that. And he's just Oh, by the way, for those of you, a nice little teaser here. For those of you that have looked at the videos, one of those people in there, he has adopted as a child. So, you know, all the 16 of those. So in there, someone he adopted. And so that's that person's story. Cool. You don't know which one. Teaser. You got to look at them all. All right. So any other questions we have before we go through the weekend? Great. I think Gary does a great job of, my mic's a little hot. No, not so bad. In terms of answering some of those questions that we talk about, I like the fact that we're in sync. We're not about business. We're about entrepreneurship, which is totally different in my view. And so we teach it that way. I don't tell anybody at school that's what we're doing. You know, they want multiple choice and all that shit. Now we don't got to do that. But I think this is something of value to students and of value to me. I just get such a kick out of it, that this is what I am fashioned to do. So any other questions? Star today. Thank you very much. And I think you're giving me, I wrote down here something to do. I don't want to commit to it until I'm going to do it, but you got me thinking. Any other questions here, which is really interesting now. So I'm looking at the video here. I've got the video going on. I got 3 monitors going on. Thank you, Judy. I really appreciate that. That's good. So I'll make sure I'll just schedule Gary so I can get him ahead of time. But I want to get Clifton, actually. I know I'm trying a little bit. I'm teasing him a little bit. Hey, just little things that somebody say that. I don't know. Gary spoke. What about you? I wanted to get him for a commencement speech here at Santa Monica. You know, the politics involved in that. Tom said, flight, run away. I've been in that fight before, run away. So totally forgot where I was going. I feel like, no, I'm not going to say that. So we're good. I got other things that were going on. Oh, yeah. So come on Monday. So anybody who doesn't know Excel or Google spreadsheet, if you have a Gmail account, they've got all of this software that's up in the cloud, totally available to you. I use it all because I can go anywhere from any class, any classroom, and I don't have to take a jump drive with me or my computer and hook it up. It's all out there, and all I need is internet access. So we're going to talk about financials, and it's about the numbers. You got to know your numbers. So it's very simple. I'll go through the basics of Google Sheets. There's plenty of videos out there. We're going to talk about break-even analysis, and we're going to talk about cash flow forecasts, and I'll give you a little taste of financial statements. There's not a lot that you need to know on that. I just want you to make aware of those, right? So we're in good shape here for that time. Again, I got Calendly anytime you want. I think I got most of the assignments already reviewed. Now you're moving forward with, okay, who are your customers going to be? Who are you going to interview? How are you going to interview them? And I'm actually I was going to show it in class today, but I will give you some links to the videos from these guys, Doan and Justin, about how to ask questions, some hacks for asking questions. So it'll give you, again, another data point or another person's idea about how to go about asking some questions when you start doing that.
Professor,
yes, go ahead.
I just would like to thank you for putting this extra effort into the class, man, and bringing these guests and stuff, man. This really nice stuff, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You're very kind. These people are wonderful. And again, one of the things that's interesting, I started knowing Gary like 5 or 6 years ago. And now anytime he asks me or I ask him, we go out to dinner all the time whenever he's in town. I drink his wine, that kind of thing. So, and he's really good about it. Yeah. So thank you very much. Everything big starts small. So you got this. Thank you so much. I'm digging my, I should go to this move. I'm digging my little system here. I only choked a couple of times. Cole, you good? I saw you came in a little late. All right, cool.
Totally. Yeah. Not at
So
all.
this is all up on, I'll put this up online, and all of the videos are up online there so you can review them, or we'll go from there. So I have nothing less to say. I know you all have to do something else. Thank you very much for being here. It's just so great to be able to have a guest speaker and 35 people are in the class. Thank you so much. Ciao.
Thank you.
No, you're the
Thank
best.
you. You're so awesome.
Mm.
You're the best. Tell my boss. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. See you later. Bye-bye.